Welcome back, Flyers fans. We're back with another episode of the Florida Flyer. We had another week, only 2 games, unfortunately, this week, so it was a bit slow, and only 1-1 throughout the week, so that's not great. But if I would have told you that the Flyers were going to score 13 goals in 2 games, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have believed me, but they did. That's a real thing that happened, and I want to just jump right in. And our first topic is going to be that Nashville game, but that very poor challenge by Dave Hakstol. And I've actually gotten to talk to some people about the end of that game, and obviously the refs made some calls that a lot of people weren't super happy with, and they wanted to blame the refs for the loss, but I blame Dave Hakstol. Ultimately, the Dale Weiss thing, you can't take someone to the ground like an MMA fight by the face. Like, it's just not allowed. It's not something that you can do. And Andrew McDonald, I will tell you something that I have been told my entire life growing up playing hockey. You are responsible for your own stick at all times. So for those people that do not think that that was a tripping penalty, his stick was, he swung it out and the guy stepped on it. Yes, but he swung it out. That's on you. That's a penalty. You're not allowed to trip people. That's just kind of how it works. And that's my viewpoint. Whether it's yours or not, fine. But moving on to something I think we can all agree about, the Dave Hakstol challenge for the game-tying goal was hugely disappointing and unnecessary. All they had to do was kill off another, I think, 36 seconds, and they were in it overtime at 3-on-3, one of the best teams that in 3-on-3 overtime because of the fast pace of this team, because of the creativity. It was a guaranteed point. We were guaranteed a point basically. If we kill off that penalty, we go right into overtime, and who knows what happens. They had scored 5 unanswered goals before all of this transpired, and then the wheels kind of just fell off. The challenge, which did not look close to me, I think really it didn't give us the opportunity to get even a point in that game. And I don't know if you guys remember from last season, but I have it right here. The Flyers missed 6 points. 6 points from getting into the playoffs last year. 6 points from 11th, which the Flyers were, to 8th. They ended up getting a lottery pick with that 11th spot. So, I mean, only 6 points to separate you from being in the playoffs or getting Nolan Patrick is a lot. Not to mention the fact that the Islanders and the Lightning both missed the 8th spot by 1 point, which is what we would have gotten had we gone into overtime with Nashville. Would have been a little better at 2-1-1. But that is neither here nor there. I want to continue to talk about Dave Hakstol. The Nashville challenge was stupid, and it happened, but they rebounded well. I don't know why Brandon Manning was in the lineup for the Washington game. I get the physicality aspect. The only thing that I can really think of is that he's a veteran, and Hack wants to show his veterans that he cares about them and that they get the big games and this and that. And I feel like that's disrespectful to Travis Sanheim. I feel like you want Sanheim in a game like that. Granted, hindsight's 2020, and we've won 8-2 and all that good stuff. But in a game against Washington, who's such a high-powered offense, why wouldn't you want a very good puck-moving defenseman? Yes, he's young. Yes, he makes mistakes, but still a puck-moving defenseman, someone who can, move the puck and score goals from his blue line, where a lot of our offense typically comes from. Don't understand that, not to mention the fact that Brandon Manning took our first penalty of the game, did not get scored on, thankfully, but we did get scored on a bad play by him individually and also Andrew McDonald individually, which still stands to my point. Sam Morin should be on this team. Sam Morin brings everything Brandon Manning does, but better and stronger and faster and bigger. So I'm not 100% certain why Sam Morin still isn't here, but that is something we'll talk about later, lineup decisions and whatnot. Michael Neuvirth, Brian Elliott, I'm not sure how I feel about. I'm actually really conflicted about the goaltending situation. I really like that Hack is sticking with Elliott and really letting him find his game. But I also think of the games that Elliott has played, he's looked more shaky than strong for at least extended periods of time. And in the game that Michael Neuvert played, he looked very strong and hasn't really gotten another opportunity since then. And I know the games have been super spaced out, but I honestly think that Neuvert should get a shot, hopefully this week with 3 games, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'm really hoping that Neuvert gets a shot because he did look really good against Los Angeles. So he's normally a juggler, has stopped that. People have complained about that in the past. I was one of those people, but to see Neuwirth only once so far in 5 games, I think is surprising. Back to people that disappoint me. Dale Weiss is openly and utterly the least skilled person, I think, on his line, maybe on the team, and it shows. It is very apparent just via the eye test that he is not a strong possession guy. He's not a guy that can get into the dirty areas and make passes that need to be made in order to make this team better, in order to make our third line more viable. Nolan Patrick and Travis Konecny carry that line with the dead corpse of Dale Weiss on their back. And I, again, don't understand why it's not Oscar Lindblom or Matt Reed even. I think Matt Reed on that line makes that line a viable scoring threat. And Matt Reed is defensively sound. He's got good wheels, and he's got a lot of knowledge that I guess you give up size when you send Dale Weiss away, but I'd take skill over size in this new NHL every day of the week and twice on Sunday. The first line looks really good. They've looked really good the last couple games. I've been getting on Sean Couturier. As long as he continues to finish, I'm going to continue to put my foot in my mouth. But, I mean, all he has to do is get in those dirty areas. Jake and G both look like they're having resurgent seasons. Jake, I would love to see him shoot, like I said, a little bit more, and I'd love to see him get a goal here soon to make sure that confidence stays high. The Filppula-Simmer wheel line has great chemistry, a lot of really good skill. Filppula scored 3 goals this year. I think that's like half of his entire career. I'm just kidding. That's totally not what actually is happening. But he scored 3 goals this year, 2 on the power play. Very unexpected, very pleasantly surprised at his production thus far. And Jordan Wheel will forever be a steal for me. And we're going to talk about, like I said, lineup decisions in a little bit. But the fourth line improvement, I feel like, has been the biggest testament to this whole team. I feel like it's really shifted the dynamic of this team so strong because last year, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare got 8 points in the entire season last year. For every game he played, I think it was all 82 or 81 or whatever it was, he had 8 points. Scott Laughton, 5 games into the season, has 3. Roman Lyubimov had 6 points. Taylor Lear has 1 point, and Lyubimov did not play the full season, but he did play a lot of the season, more than half of the season, and it was on the fourth line. Chris Vandevelde had 15 points, and Michael Raffl yet has 0 to this point. But again, Raffl also doesn't kill penalties as much as Vandevelde did, and I feel like that point total is definitely going to creep up. And I'm so happy that Vandevelde and Bellemare are gone because that line was just a black hole. There was no offense coming out of there, and they should have just been called the Stone Hands line because none of them had any kind of finesse whatsoever. And this line just looks like it's going to be very strong throughout the year. They forecheck well. They cycle well. Taylor Lear knocked Brooks Orpik on his ass, which was awesome to see. And then Brooks Orpik got him back because he's Brooks Orpik. You can take the Penguin out of Pittsburgh, but not the Pittsburgh out of the Penguin. So... But yeah, that's all I really have about Hakstol. There's not a lot to complain about after a victory by 6 goals against one of the powerhouse teams of the Eastern Conference. But there is definitely some stuff that's concerning. The letting Sanheim sit and watch on the home opener. The kid didn't deserve that. He should have been in that game. Letting him see Alexander Ovechkin at this point in his career. It's just you gotta let it happen. So one of the things they mentioned on Saturday, and I don't know how true it is now, recording this on Monday, Alex Ovechkin himself with 9 goals and 1 assist has outscored but the 9 goals, has outscored 7 NHL teams through this point of the season just himself. He's on a tear, and the guy is just he's on another level this year, and the Flyers shut him down. Super impressed by that. Short of the Andrew McDonald, Brandon Manning breakdown, the defense looked really good. I'm super happy with the Shane Gostisbehere, Robert Hagg pair. Hagg is more physical than I thought he would be. And Ghost, I feel like, is flying under the radar because he's not putting bombs in the goal, but he's got a bunch of assists. He's toward the top of the league leaders in assists for defensemen, so definitely something to check out. But I want to move on and just to positives and negatives of the team. The first line chemistry, which we already talked about, is really good. It's really, really good. Giroux looks like he can hit anybody from the sideboards with a pass just right on the tape. Him and Jake really, really starting to make that work. And Coots is finally starting to put the puck in the net. The line adjustments have been good. The Filppula up to the second line and Nolan Patrick going down to the third line has so far looked good, short of the corpse of Dale Weiss being dragged around by Travis Konecny. The team looks faster, and that attributes to 5-on-5 success. They look much better 5-on-5. They're scoring more goals 5-on-5. They might have scored more goals 5-on-5 in Washington or against Washington than they did all of last season. That's just how it felt. The fourth line's amazing. And Jordan Wheel, like I said, Jordan Wheel for me will always be a steal because we got him in a 3rd-round pick for Vincent Lecavalier and Luke Shen, and that just feels like we fleeced Los Angeles, the Kings, and now that guy works for the Flyers. Thanks, Dean Lombardi. One of the things I want to talk about real quick, interjecting, the lineup decisions, the benching of Sanheim, I feel like is a Hakstol decision, but having the ability to play Andrew McDonald 20 minutes a game, having the ability to make that Sanheim for Manning switch, I feel like falls on on Ron Hextall. I trust Hexy. He's made some amazing trades. He's made some very good signings, short of the Dale Weiss signing. He's drafted wonderfully and amazing, and he gave us Ivan Provorov and Travis Sanheim and all that good stuff, Travis Konecny. But at what point do we start holding him accountable for, again, not taking these guys away from Dave Hakstol? You know, if Vegas doesn't take Belmar in the expansion draft, Belmar is playing center, not Scott Lawton, or he's at least on that line, and that line doesn't function how it does right now with Pierre-Edouard Belmar on it. He's very defensively responsible, but there's not a lot of skill to be spoken of. He understood where he needed to be. He was a good locker room guy. That's why he had the A on his sweater. But this fourth line will not function with a guy like of his caliber on that line, and I feel like they're putting too much emphasis on veteran presence. It's a very veteran team, whether the blue line says that or not. It's a very veteran team. You know, Wayne Simmons and Claude Giroux. Giroux being more of a lead by example guy, but Wayne Simmons is a very outspoken, almost 30-year-old player at this point. You have to trust in the veterans that you have, not the ones that you want to be something. Andrew McDonald isn't your answer on the blue line. He's never going to become a complement to Ivan Provorov. All he does is drag his play down. So at some point, like I said, when do we expect Hextall to kind of step up and make this his team and stop caring about the money that you know, Paul Holmgren promised players before this? It's going to come down to that. Some of my negatives, just going to put them all in one little cluster. Andrew McDonald, Brandon Manning, Dale Weiss, all for very obvious reasons. They let up. It happened in Nashville. It happened in Washington. They'll go up by a certain amount of goals, what seems to be an insurmountable amount of goals, and then seconds later give up a goal. Can't do that. You can't do that later in the season. Other teams are going to thrive on that momentum that you give, and thankfully they snuffed it out in Washington because Nick Backstrom scored that one just about as clean as you're going to see. First goalie's getting a lot of time, whether that's a negative for other people or not. I would really like to see what Michael Neuvert has. And defensive breakdowns after goals, all of that kind of flows in together. But the defense has to be stronger. I don't know why Brandon Manning was at the blue line on that play that gave Nick Backstrom a goal. You knew that was going to happen. Also, anytime Brian Elliott makes a save, I feel like I'm like out of breath. And I don't know if that's anyone else either, but he definitely terrifies me a little bit anytime he goes down and tries to make a save or anything like that. Love the mask, though. Love the homage to Hakstol. Real quick, I wanted to talk about the Phantoms. They are 2-1-1 as of Saturday. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't updated my information. Some of this stuff is strictly from Saturday. A couple points to definitely get in there. Oscar Lindblom, 0 points, 10 shots on goal. Danik Martel has 5 points in 4 games. Reese Wilcox, a defenseman, 3 points in 4 games. And Matt Reed has 1 goal. So, like I said, I'd really like to see Reed come up in the near future now that Moran is back down with the Phantoms and kind of get in on that left wing side with Nolan Patrick and Travis Konecny. I feel like that line could really cause some havoc, be very stressful to be against with the forecheck. Because there was only 2 games last week, I really don't have much else. So I'm going to wrap up with our Around the NHL segment real quick. The Flyers play the Panthers Tuesday, and hopefully I'll have this up before then. Again, filming it on Monday. Very hopeful that I can get it up and that we'll be able to talk about that a little bit. But yeah, they have a tough week coming in. Panthers, Predators, Oilers. So I just want to do a plus-minus. Teams that are doing very well to start the season, and some teams that aren't necessarily doing so hot. So Chicago's 4-1-1 with a plus 12 goal differential. Like I said a couple weeks ago, I'm pretty sure everyone writing them off last year after the playoffs and after they didn't score a goal for 3 games or whatever, definitely seems like that lit a fire under them, and the whole league needs to be on notice. The Devils also 4-1-0, plus 8 goal differential. Will Butcher looks like the man. He's making amazing passes, has his head up the whole time. Very, very smart defenseman. Jersey looks like they stole him from Colorado. Toronto's also 4-1, and Austin Matthews is back. He is sniping like he's never sniped before. It's amazing. It's fantastic to watch. I'm going to link to some videos in the description below, so check those out. He's got 2 overtime winners this year so far, and they were both just gems, just overpowering shots. LA, they are 4-0-1 as of last night. I did update that. And Vegas 3-1, Colorado 4-2. I mean, Vegas for an expansion team doing so well. James Neal, 6 goals for them right now. He looks like a steal from Nashville. He's on another level this year. He could hit 30, maybe 40 goals. Very impressive. And who would have expected Colorado to be here after being the basement dwellers last year? 4-2. Again, it's early. Things change. Everybody's hyped up because the season's back. The injury bug is going to hit some of these teams, and it's going to hit hard. And you're really going to find out the depth that's available. I also wrote down Will Butcher's definitely an early Rookie of the Year candidate for me. My minuses: the Rangers 1-5 right now. That is not where I expected them to be, especially after having a couple preseason games against them and us not doing super great. 1-5 is definitely not up to standards, up to par. San Jose's 1-3. Edmonton also 1-3. Both those guys made deep playoff runs last year. Deep playoff runs. Makes me think San Jose's maybe missing a little bit of Patrick Marleau, who's now in Toronto, and he's enjoying his time with the kids, and that leadership isn't there anymore, and I think it's weird for a lot of those players. Edmonton 1-3. That just, I don't understand. That just baffles me. Boston is 2-2, I believe, or 2-3. I can't read my writing. But Boston also a team that you would expect to be towards the upper echelon, and they're not. And Dallas also with the Ken Hitchcock move, 2-2. I didn't like the Hitch hiring there. I understand why they did it. But Dallas is going into a much more defensive scheme, a much more defensive system. And when you have guys like Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, you just need to let him go. I would kill to have Tyler Seguin on the Flyers, put him on a wing, and just let him destroy teams. He's so big, he's so fast, he's so strong. I just think Dallas made the wrong coaching decision, but we'll see. Like I said before, as of Saturday, Ovi was outscoring 7 NHL teams by himself. Edmonton can't seem to string games together. The Rangers are the biggest shocker for me, because even though they got rid of Derek Stepan this year and Keith Yandel's gone, and there's a couple little moves, they're mostly intact. and I just think there's no strength down the middle. Zibanejad is a good center, but he's not a great center, and he might not be a 1C, even though he got 1C money this year. We're going to really see their ability to string some wins together here in the near future if they're going to want to contend, because 1-5 in the Metro, I think, is the toughest division in hockey, and it's not just because obviously our Flyers are in it, but just from a competition standpoint, the Metropolitan Division, I think, is probably one of, if not one of two, of the strongest divisions in hockey. So the Rangers are really going to need to wake up. And that's really all I got for you guys this week. Like I said, only 2 games, so not a lot of notes. But I'm really hoping to see Travis Sanheim play all 3 of these games, even though I'd be willing to bet any decent sum of money that Brandon Manning will be playing the Saturday matinee against Edmonton, because of the history of him and Connor McDavid. So we'll see what happens. That's all I really have, like I said, for this week, guys. Hopefully next weekend I'll have another one, and we'll be talking about 3 more wins, maybe 6 points. That'd be nice. If not, I'll have more notes. So thank you guys very much for checking out the Florida Flyer, and I'll see you guys next time.